Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar on Are You Ready for Report Cards? We will be doing an overview on how to import and verify your grades, all the steps for setting up your report cards and the setup of that, and this will include GPA, grades, rank, credits, honor roll, and attendance. We are going to start with how do you get your grades in? All right, the first thing I want to point out is if you are entering grades from the portal, the grades will actually already be in the MMS system. So if you wanted to view these grades, you can go up to the GRD Student Grade Editor button, and you will be able to see what grades have been entered. So if we go into the Grades tab, we'll see that Amy Abiatici has several grades for Quarter 1, Quarter 2, mid-year average, Quarter 3, as an example. We are able to limit the view to a specific marking period, so we are going to use Quarter 2 as an example. And if we wanted to display just Quarter 2, we would have to click on this checkbox right next to it. Now we will only see the grades pertaining to Quarter 2, which is the current marking period, and we are also able to see comments from the teacher and any notes that might have been put in. So as we can see right here, this comment 24, if we open up the drop-down, we can see that it is meeting minimum requirements. We also have a comment 2 field, and this is a quick look and way to enter in grades for one student at a time. Over here, we have a note that is highlighted in red. That means that there is a note available for that particular class or grade. So if we click on that, we can see that Amy is doing a great job in this class. And as a note to you, this is an open-ended note, so it can be as long as the teacher needs it to be. This note will not show up on the subject report card, but it will be on the standards report card or in the teacher comments area of the web portal. The canned comments, which are the comments I pointed out earlier, will show up on the report card as text rather than as the code listed here. There are several ways to enter grades in MMS Generations if you needed to. Through the Student Grade Editor, you're able to edit one student at a time, but if you wanted to go do several more, we are able to enter grades by class. To get there, we will be going to Grades, Operations, and we're going to enter grades by class. Okay, under the General Setup, this is where we're able to choose what grades and what comments you're going to want to see within this report. So for this example, I'm going to choose the Quarter 2 grade and the Quarter 2 comments 1 and comments 2. I could, if I wanted to, include students with withdrawn grades. I could also include a Next Student button at the end of the grid, which will make it easier to go student by student to enter grades. Next, under Course Setup, we are going to be finding the courses that meet during the current marking periods. So the current marking period would be Quarter 2, but we also want to include Semester 1 courses since Quarter 2 falls within Semester 1. And to select multiple courses, we are going to hold the Control key and click. And I also want to include the year AP courses and the year courses as well. I want to select the order of how I want to see the courses, and I'm going to sort it by teacher name, but you could instead sort it by course and section, by teacher number, or by room. But in this case, I just want to see it by teacher name. I'm going to click Build List. And now we have a list of all of the courses that are available during the current marking periods that we selected. Now we're going to go into grade entry, and it looks blank, but what you want to do is click on this drop down for the select course, select section, And now we're going to choose which course we want to enter the grades for. So for this example, I'm going to use band chorus. Now we have a list of all of the students within this class, this section, and with this teacher. Once I have chosen the course, I am given the student's ID number, their name, and from what I chose earlier, I can see I have my quarter 2 grade, quarter 2 comment 1, and quarter 2 comment 2. So this is a nice, easy way of entering in grades for each class. So let's just say I wanted to enter in 88. If I hit the tab button, I'm now in the comment 1, and a drop-down will show all of the different comments you're able to choose. We have the codes right next to them, and then the description of the comment as well. When you click on Next Student, it will bring you to the next student, and then it just makes it easier rather than hitting the drop-down each time. So you are actually able to type in the number for the codes as well as the number for the grades, and tabbing over will make it a much quicker process for you if you happen to have your grades listed. All right, we're going to get out of here. The next report that we want to run is the grade verification list. So we are going to go over to Grades, More Grades Reports, and up at the top we have a grade verification list. So this list is a nice quick way to be able to see what students are missing grades, and it's a report you can actually print to show teachers to have them also verify the grades that they have inputted. So what I am going to do is choose the current term. So I'm going to choose quarter 2, semester 1, year AP, and year courses. And I am also going to sort by teacher name as well. So I'm going to build this list. One thing I do want to note is that if you have a semester or quarter classes, then all of these will be needed, including quarter 1 as well. So let's go over to report layout. Here is where we can print out how we want to see this particular report. We are able to show it as a portrait or a landscape view. We can have 1 line of data or 2 lines of data. And we're also able to print a blank line between students to make it easier to view. We can show the ID number, gender, year of graduation, and homeroom for the students. We're also able to include withdrawn students, skip classes with 0 enrolled, and include transfer courses. I'm actually going to jump over to the additional report data really quick. Here I want to include the quarter 2 grade, and I also want to include the comments for quarter 2 as well, so just the first 2 comments. The mid-year average grade, the mid-year exam grade, and at the bottom I want to include the final exam grade and the final average grade. So this is where, if this were for semester and quarter courses, all of these will be needed, but if the classes are year-long classes, then you will only need to include the mid-year exam and mid-year averages for it being quarter 2 right now, just as a side note. You have the option to print some text right next to the student info. But it looks like we only have 24, or actually we are over by 24 characters. So I'm going to go back to report layout. Since we are over the number of characters, what I'm going to do is switch from portrait layout to landscape. And now we are not over the number of characters that we have available. You also have the ability to include 2 additional biographical fields. So if you wanted to include the advisor, we could do that. you have a lot of options to choose from. So you have 2 different fields that you could pull in. You also can enter a report title. This might be useful if you needed the report back by a certain time. So for example, I'm going to write, please verify and return by 10 a.m. This will print on the top of each page and is more of it could be used as a reminder for teachers to let them know that you need them to verify the grades and return this back to the office or the administrator by 10 a.m. Grade entry options, text to replace blank grades. So when the system pulls up a student and there is a blank grade, rather than just a blank space, we are going to have a set of brackets with some space in between to indicate that we are missing a grade there. So it's a nice visual cue once we run the report to show that we are missing some grades for those classes. All right, I'm going to hit print. Okay, and this is going to be, each page is going to be for a class. So as I'm scrolling down here, I can see that for Health 9, most of the quarter 2 grades have been entered, but it looks like there is one that is missing. So this is we would definitely want to get this to the teacher of this course and ask them to enter in the grade that was missing. It could be very easy to just accidentally skip over a student. So as you can see here, all of the grades are listed, but it also shows when comments aren't listed as well. So if a teacher wanted to include a comment, they could quickly see that there aren't any missing, or there are some missing. This would also be a great indication to show groups of students that are missing grades, and you would be able to give this to the teacher and ask them to fill them out. And it's also a chance for the teacher to verify that these are the grades that they want to have listed on the students' report cards. Okay, I'm going to exit out of here. One thing that's nice about MMS is that you do have the ability to transfer grades from a third-party gradebook. To do that, we are going to go under Grades, Operations, Transfer Grades from a third-party gradebook. So here you have the ability to choose the gradebook to transfer Exchange files from. Now we have a couple very popular options that are used by many schools, so you would make your selection. I actually don't have the files on my computer, but it does let you know what file extension it will be looking for. So for the Making the Grade by J. Klein Productions, they would be looking for a .mgi gradebook file. Here's where you would select the file path which the gradebook files are stored. You can add students to classes from gradebook exchange files. Now what this means is that the teacher, if the teacher has the student in their gradebook that they're transferring in, but you don't have them listed in the class, it will ask you which one it wants, and if there are existing grades, do you want to overwrite or skip those grades? If you have already marked a student as withdrawn, however, you might want to skip them. When you select your third-party gradebook, this tab will actually become active. And what you're able to do in this tab, I'm unfortunately unable to get into it, is you're able to match up the grade field equivalents. So whatever grade fields are coming in from the third-party gradebook, you would match up to the fields that are within MMS. So it makes a much smoother transition to go from the third-party gradebook into MMS. Next, you're going to want to run the Failing Missing Grades report, and we are going to be looking for missing grades. So the report is located under Grades, Print Failing Missing Grades Report. So this report will be run once you have the grades in, and you're able to focus on either failing or missing, but right now we really want to focus on the missing grades at this point since we think we have all of them entered at this point. Under list selection, I'm going to pick the courses that meet in quarter 2, semester 1, year AP courses, and year courses. I'm going to build that list. Then under report setup, this is where you will choose which report you want to run. So right now I'm going to be running the missing grades report. I also want to select the grade field as quarter 2. And I want to sort by teacher, then by course, then by student. And I only want to include regular grades in this instant. Down here, I also want to choose that I want a new page for each teacher. You don't necessarily have to, but I find it's easier to read if you select the new page for each teacher. Okay, now we're going to print. So with this report, we can see that we have a couple courses that are only a few students are missing grades. So we saw this in the previous report, actually, or in a previous report, that this student is missing a grade. But as we scroll down, we can actually see that this class for the same teacher has a group of students that do not have grades entered. So we definitely would want to get in touch with the teacher of Health 12 and let them know that there is a group of students that are currently missing grades. Going back to the report editor, now I actually want to take a look at the failure report. So instead of sorting by teacher, course, and student, I would much rather order it by student and course. So I'm going to be focusing on the students here and see how they're a quick glance at how they're doing course-wise, if they're having any multiple failing grades or if there's just one. Good chance to possibly sit down and talk with the student. So I'm going to click print. And here we can see sorted by student which grades or in which courses they are failing currently. So Sarah, their quarter 2 grade that is failing, so they have a 38 in, let me see, yes, here's the course name. So she is failing in POD, and this is a nice report for guidance counselors to run at any point during the year, so they'll have a chance to sit down with the student and see how they're doing and possibly a reason why they might be failing that current course. So the next report that I want to run is the Grades Cross-Reference Report, and that can be found under Grades, Reports, or More Grade Reports, and then the Grades Cross-Reference Report. So this would be if you're looking for students within a certain grade range or have certain comments like wanting to set up a student-teacher conference. This is a nice report to be able to find that group of students that a teacher might want to set up a parent-teacher conference for. So under list selection, I actually just want to select the year-long courses here. I'm going to build the list. I'm going to jump over to grade field setup. And this is where you can add either the grade sequence that you want to look for, and you can also select the comments that you would want to look for. So if you wanted to add a comment to look for, you would hit the plus sign right next to the table. Select which comment field you would be looking for this comment in. So I'm going to choose quarter 2, comment 1. And then which comment you're looking for. So it lists all of the codes as well as the descriptions here. So for this example, I am going to choose, oops, let me go down a bit. Independent reading incomplete. Now I'm looking for a minimum occurrence of 1. If I go to the report setup, before I hit print, you can bring over another biographical field. And for this example, I actually want to bring in their advisor. So here we go. You have the ability to include transfer courses as well. All right, and when I hit print, all right, I just received a question from Stephanie asking if you can select multiple comments from the last screen. And yes, you can. I'll show that once this is printed. I'll show you how to add a second comment that you could look for. All right, so we can see here that Erica has in the quarter 2 field the comment that we are looking for. So this particular student has a independent reading incomplete, but this would be very useful if you were looking for parent-teacher conferences or any other comments available. So if we go back here and wanted to add a second comment, you would just hit the plus sign again, choose what area comment you want. So let's just say I wanted to select comment 2. And then you could choose whichever comment you were looking for as well. I am going to right now, however, delete both, and I'm going to focus on looking for particular grades. So in the grade field, I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to select quarter 2 grade, and I want to be looking for a failing grade. So I'm going to say the beginning grade is going to be 59, so just below failing, and then the ending grade I would like to see between 0 and 59, so I'm going to set that to 0. I can also, however, include another grade that I want to look for. So instead of quarter 2, or as well as quarter 2, I would like to look for quarter 1 grade failing as well. So I will set the numbers the same. So 59 and 0. I would like to point out over here we have the option to select a logical relationship. So right now it's selected as AND. So what that means is when the report is run, it will be looking for students who have failed their quarter 1 grade and have failed their quarter 2 grade. If you select OR, then it will be looking for students who have failed quarter 1 or failed quarter 2, or if they have failed both of them, it will show that as well. So I'm going to run this report. Okay, now we can see each student. This student shows that they failed their quarter 1 grade. Oops. The next student has actually failed both quarter 1 and quarter 2 for this course, and the following student has failed quarter 2 only. So it's nice to see the differences between AND and OR. One thing that should be run periodically is data integrity, and this can be done under Admin, Data Integrity. Now some schools will run data integrity weekly, but you especially want to run this before the end of a marking period or around the report card time right beforehand. And this can be done by either a systems administrator or by someone with full administrative privileges. There are 3 selections in particular that you want to run regarding report cards. The first being synchronized student grade records table. This will synchronize the student grade records. It's going to take the section that the student is in, look at the grade plan, and make sure that the student has all of the grades that are in that grade plan. So it just goes through, each student goes through each of their grade plans and makes sure that it checks that. The next we are going to select, we're going to control-click, is validate grade and withdrawal flags. If there are grades in that course for that student, then it will give the status of G for that particular grade. If the student has been dropped or withdrawn from that course, then it will put the letter W for that student. It gives you the capability to make sure that the records are accurate. If there are no grade records there, especially for exam or averages with final grade entry, it might give you an error, or the teacher may not be able to save the grade because the grade record isn't there to save the record into. Finally, you want to select the student skills grade table and synchronize with the student scheduling table. What this does is essentially the same function as the previous two selections. However, it applies to skills and standards as well. So this just covers all of your bases for whichever type of report card you were looking to do. Now, I'm not going to run this today as I already ran it before the webinar, but you definitely want to make sure this is run before you process your report cards. Oops. Oh yes, that's right. It actually takes you out of the database, so you want to get back into that. Now we are going to want to compute term and semester averages. We want to go to Grades, Operations, and compute term and semester averages, which is right there. You might need to run grade averaging if the teachers aren't already calculating it for you. And this will be used to get the term and semester final averages. Under General, I'm going to want to select Mid-Year Average. And I'm still assuming that I'm in quarter 2 right now. So I actually want to go in and change the quarter 3 and quarter 4 to 0 because those are not associated with quarter 2 right now. And I also want to change the final average to 0 as well since we're working with the mid-year. And also semester 2. So those will be all set to 0. I also want to set the mid-year exam to 50%, so half of what the quarter amount would be, so 0.5. Right here you can select the grade point value group that will be used here. You can exclude withdrawn courses, and you can use unrounded averaging if you choose. Under course selection, I'm going to select year-long courses, AP courses, and quarter 2. Right, I'm going to build the list. So now we have all of the courses listed. Under grade rules, if you are using numeric grades, and if I find a letter grade, this is where you will choose what will happen. I'm going to opt not to calculate an average for the student's course because the letter grade may be an I for incomplete. So I just don't want to have them calculate the student's average for that course if it is an incomplete. You could also count the alpha grade as 0, or you could ignore the alpha grade and its weight. You have the option to overwrite an existing grade with a calculated grade, and you can overwrite locked grades. So for example, if the teacher has locked the grade in the teacher portal, you have the option to say that you can overwrite it. Down here, if I find an empty term or average grade field, I'm going to select that I do not want. The reason there might be an empty grade is there might be a situation where a student came in a few days before quarter 2 ended. So their grade field will actually be empty. So this is an area where you can say do not calculate an average for the student in this course because they weren't there long enough to have a grade, and that is why it would be empty. And we don't want to count that as 0 either since they really weren't there for that course. And some schools or some classes within schools may not have final exam grades or mid-year exam grades. So I'm also going to select do not calculate an average for this student's course. Now these options will be looking for the grades that have either average or exam in their name. If I am using letter grades, do I want to use the level that I used in the catalog, or do I want to specify a different level? But today we are using numeric grades. All right. In the course and department settings, it will allow you to exclude either from the calculation. So if you had a study hall come through with this with the building of the list, you would be able to move this over to not calculate averages. You could also select a particular department if you happen to have a department that was just for lunches or just for study halls and you did not want those calculated. If you move them into the next box, they will be excluded from the calculations. Under special grades, this is where if you don't want the grade to be calculated or included. So, for example, the letter I for incomplete. We don't want that actually calculated, so we're going to move this over. Going to move the letter M and also the letter X as an example. Oops, I went too far. Here we go. So these will actually erase these grades from the average. And down here, I'm going to select the same letters to make sure that they will not be calculated into the average as well. So I, M, and X. So I would put the grades that I do not want averaged calculated and I want them erased. I would put them into these two boxes. Under special conditions, if you are doing numeric grades, say between certain grade levels, some schools have a minimum failing grade. So for example, if a student has a 45, then what I can do here is say if the averages are equal to 59, or I'm sorry, 0 and 59, then I want to store the value of just 59. So their 45 average would turn into 59, but that would still be considered the failing grade. Another example would be if teachers are including extra credit, but the school will only take a maximum of 100 as the final grade, then I can say for all computed averages greater than or equal to, I would say 100 or 109, and less than or equal to 100, then I would store the value of just 100. You're also able to choose the rounding rule for calculating averages. I'm not sure why it's unselected right now, but when you do have the option, the less than computed value would mean that any grades that are less than, for example, 83. So an 82.9 would become just an 82. It would not round up. If you chose more than the computed value, an 82.4 would actually become an 83. I find the most popular choice for rounding, however, is closest to the computed value. So if there was an 82.5 the grade would be rounded to an 83. But if the grade was 82.4999, it would end up going down to an 82. You can also specify which is the closest value to 0 where I can put in an F. So here, if it were active, I would select 59. Once all of my grades are in and I've run all of those reports, I can move on to working on computing GPA. I will be going to Grades, Operations, Compute Grade Point Average, and this is going to allow me to set up different GPAs. So up here I have a list of all of the GPAs that I could be using. Right now I'm going to be choosing quarter 2, and these categories actually come from the grades, more grade editing jobs, and edit GPA categories. So if you wanted to create more options, MMS lets you know exactly where to go to do that. I'm actually going to recall settings since I have already created one for quarter 2. And I just clicked recall settings and I double clicked on quarter 2, but you could also select it and click the select item button as well. So choosing that recall setting will actually fill out everything that I have set that I want to have computed for quarter 2. Down here, it actually shows the formula that it is going to be using to calculate this particular GPA. The weight grade point average by course credit, I do want that to happen. So the courses that carry more credit value will count more towards the GPA. But using total points for GPA, I selected no. Here I'm selecting I want to compute the term GPA. And you can select the grade fields to include in the term GPA. So I am only focusing on quarter 2 right now. I'm also able to choose which grade point value group I would like to use. So I'm going to just use the value group 2. And if I wanted to adjust this, I would actually go to Grades, More Grade Editing Jobs, and Edit Valid Grade Lists. I can come in and see that I have certain grades listed here, and I can actually set them equal to certain point values within different levels. So for example, I could have my level 0 be worth more than my level 1. So if this were a regular course and this were an honors course, I actually think I have that set down below. Yes, okay. Oops. So down here, here we go. So a 66. In a regular course, it is equal to 66, but for a level 1 grade point, so if this were my honors course, it would be actually worth 67.32. So you're able to have up to 10 different levels if you wanted to have a regular course, honors course, and an AP course. It's a nice way of organizing and putting point values towards your grades to include with honors courses and AP courses. You can have multiple levels in here. So my level 4 is actually a grade 4.0 GPA system. So an A plus and an A minus are both equal to 4.0. B plus, B minus are equal to 3.0, and so on. So you're able to set up many different grade levels within here. And actually, if I continue to go down a bit, here we go. Same thing with the numeric grades. If instead of doing alpha, you'll see that 1.0 is equal to the 60s, 70 to 79 will be equal to 2.0, 80 to 89 will be equal to 3.0. So this is just where you would be adjusting the grade levels. You can also include in here when we scroll all the way over, if this is a passing or failing grade course. So if a grade is entered, but it's a pass-fail course, then it will know when it is pass or fail. You can put in if it will be included in GPA, as well as the honor roll class number. And you can also check if this is no recalc by gradebook. What this means is if the teacher recomputed, you can come in and say, if I have a withdrawal grade, for example, I don't want the teacher to change that withdrawal grade. So if I check this, that means the teacher cannot recalculate for this particular grade. I'm going to exit, and I don't want to save changes this time. If I wanted to create a new way how to calculate GPA, I would set all of my choices on how I want them to be. Okay. All right, I'm actually going to, yes. So right now I am currently calculating the GPA for the students. I just wanted to show you where, if you wanted to change the grade point value group, where you were able to do that. Just realized now I probably should have just chosen one student as an example, but that's okay. Luckily, it's going fairly quick. All right, so we get this message after we hit process that the processing is complete and how many students were processed. When you click OK, it seems like nothing happens. But what you want to do is click on the View Print Log, and it will show you what exactly it did. So it will show me for this particular student, it's going to show me the grade field that it processed, the grade, and the credit value associated with those grades. Oh, I keep doing that. So it's just a nice way to quickly glance and make sure that all of your credit values are accurate, as well as the grades, quarter two, and the grade points. So it's a nice, easy way to make sure that those are all accurate. All right, and if you're wondering, credit percentages are actually coming from the grades, more grade editing jobs, and edit grade schemes. So under grade assignment weighting plan, so this just shows you, since I chose quarter two, it shows you the percentages of the credits and how they are broken up. So if we had, for example, year-long courses, then the quarter one grade would be equal to 25%, quarter two 25%, and so on. So just wanted to let you know where those are calculated. After you have computed grade point averages, we want to compute class rank. So we're going to go to Grades, Operations, Compute Class Rank. Now this has to be done after GPA because it is directly based upon the grade point average calculations. So if you did not run GPA beforehand, then the class rank may not be accurate if you run this. So what I want to do is you can compute the class rank for one selected year of graduation, so just the seniors for 2016. You can compute the class rank for all of the year of graduation, so for all students, but it will be sorted by year of graduation. Or you can compute the school-wide ranking, so it takes all of the students into account and ranks them based on that. I find that's not a very popular choice just because the seniors will obviously be more towards the higher end of the ranking, whereas the freshmen only having a few classes might not make it, or very high. So I'm going to stick with compute for selected year of graduation. So I'm going to hit process, and now it'll show 135 students in the 2016 year of graduation were processed. I do do suggest, however, that you do compute for all by year of graduation. Though I did it just for 2016, if you do it for compute all, you're able to only have to do this process once for all of the students, and since it separates them by year of graduation, it just makes it so you don't have to go back and forth between the two. There's actually a report you can run to see how those computations worked, since we don't have a view log here. So I'm going to exit, and I'm going to go to grades, more grade reports, and I'm going to run the class rank report. From Career GPA, we can select the order in which to print the class rank, and I'm going to keep it at rank order. And you can also print for the selected year of graduation or for all. I'm going to just stick with the year 2016. So I'm going to hit print. And this will give you a report listing all of the students that you chose in your selection, their ID number, year of graduation, if you were to choose more than one year of graduation, their GPA, so this would be their career GPA, their rank, and the class size. So this student, Jack, is first in his class out of 135 students. So that's just a nice way to see what we just computed for class rank. Next, we are going to be computing our credits. To get the credits calculated, we need to go under Grades, Operations, Compute Course Credits. And what I'm going to do is recall settings for, I can use either year-to-date credits or career credits. And this time I'm going to select career credits. So these are settings that you can save at any time. What you would do is select all of your options, and then when you hit Save Settings, you're able to save what you just created, so you can come back to that option in the future. So since I hit career credits, it selected career credits automatically. It selected the grade point value group I want to work with. I wanted to include transfer courses with these credits. I want to compute career credits, and you're able to set up the school years and summary records for the career credits. For example, if you were computing the career credits for a senior, you might want to include all 4 years. If you were computing it for a junior, so let's say Amy Abiatici, for example, we would want to compute the latest 3 years. So I would just deselect the 2012 to 2013. Instead, you could also select this year as well as last year's career credits. Or instead of the career credits, you could select the year-to-date credits from last year and the year-to-date credits from the previous year. So a couple of different options, but so I'm going to select the career credits for the 14-15 school year. I am not going to substitute oh, I see. Okay. I'm not going to allow substitution when empty grade fields are found. Because if I don't find a final average, then I don't want to compute the credits because they have not finished the course. And I actually forgot to mention that this option is available in GPA as well. But I'm going to hit process here, or actually I'm going to just make this a smaller selection so it will be processing faster. So I'm just going to do Amy, Christine, oops, deselect, Amy, Christine, and Charles. Okay. I'm going to hit process. And again, nothing seems to appear, but when you hit view print log, you will see what the computations were. So for Amy, it's going to show here at the bottom, summary record for the 14-15 school year, and then it's going to show the credits for the 15-16. So it will be adding those together. I'm going to exit out of here. All right, after credits, we are going to want to compute the honor roll. So what we are going to do is go to Grades, More Grade Editing Jobs, and Edit Honor Roll Rules. Now we're not actually going to do anything here today, but I wanted to point out where you would set up your honor roll rules. This is usually set once for the year, and it can be different for school or per school. So high school versus middle school might be slightly different. The GPAs could be a little bit lower for middle school, or however you want to set it up. But this is where you would set up your different honor roll options. To compute the honor roll, however, we want to go to Grades, Grades, Operations, and Compute Honor Roll. You're able to run all three at the same time, or if you wanted to, you could run one at a time, though I would suggest you run at least the high honor roll and honor roll together, because if you run them separately, then it will be going through the list of students and putting in high honor roll the first time, and then when you run it again for honor roll, it will actually include the students who are also in high honor roll as well. So running them both together means that you won't have any duplications, and the students who are in high honor roll will not be counted in the honor roll selection. So I'm going to select those two. I'm going to select quarter 2. I want to store the honor roll in quarter 2. And this time I don't want to include transfer courses. For the student range, I am just going to select the students with the last name beginning with A. So I am actually going to scroll down, and if I wanted to deselect all students below the letter A's, what I would do is press the control button and click into the checkbox, and that will deselect all students below where I just checked. Okay, and now I'm going to process. 18 students were processed. When I go into View Log, it's going to seem like it's a lot of data, but it's going to show the student ID number, the course, and the course section. And it's also going to show down here what level their GPA falls under. So this is a quick glance at their honor roll, or where they fall into there. So if I get out of here, another way to see where they are with the honor roll, where they fall, is going under the grade editor, the student grade editor. And under the honor roll tab, we can see here that Amy did not make the grade, or did not make it into either high honors or honor roll. You can actually click on the reason to see why, and we can see that the student has not enough, doesn't have enough credits, so she didn't even qualify. If we go through the next student, oops, let's go back one. We can see here that Christine actually did make honor roll in quarter 3 for this course. So student had a GPA of 9.45, so she did make at least honor roll, but she did not make high honors. You can also see within the student grade editor, you can also see the credits that the student has earned. Now that we've computed, all of this information has been updated, so we can see their career credits. We can also see their GPA and class rank. as well as their attendance, which we're actually going to be working on next. So I'm actually going to get out of here. Instead of grades, I'm actually going to go to daily for calculating attendance. We're going to go to operations. Oops, there we go. And transfer attendance summary totals. This will take a time frame that you want to work with. So once it loads, let's try that again actually. Transfer attendance. So I'm going to choose quarter 2, and then you're able to select a date range that you want to work with. So I'm just going to say quarter 2 was October 1st till December 1st, just as an example. Now you're able to select a date either from a drop-down or clicking on this icon like I did, which will bring up a calendar. When I process, it's going to calculate the number of tardies, absences, dismissals, and unexcused absences the student has within that time frame that I set here. It will also be paying attention to the various calendars that the student might use. So if you changed a student from one calendar to the next, let's just mid-year, so let's say they were on a team at your school and they ended up switching teams for whatever reason and went to a different calendar, this will take that into account and will still calculate their tardies, absences, and unexcused absences. Going back into the grade editor, and in the attendance tab, we can see here the terms listed. So I have semester 1 listed, but that's all right since we're still looking at quarter 2. The total absences, unexcused absences, tardies, dismissed. It looks like Christine only had 1 absent. It does not show the date that they had that absence, but it shows the terms that we use to calculate that. Over to the far right, we're going to see the number of days possible that they could have been in school, the number of days they were present, and it gives a percentage of their attendance, non-member, and the session total. Now, one thing to note is that if you are in New Hampshire, the sessions are actually going to be double because New Hampshire takes sessions as half days instead. So that is something to keep in mind if you are in New Hampshire. Now, if I wanted to include this in my grade reporting, what I want to do is go to grades, or I'm sorry, class, operations, transfer class totals to grade reporting. If I transfer the class totals to grades reporting, what this will do is allow me to include the absences in my report cards. There we go. So same thing as before, we can choose which comment field we would like it to be in. So I'm going to choose quarter 2 comment 1. I'm going to select the date range. So I'm going to select October through December. Oh, that's all the way in June. And I'm just going to choose December 24th. Oh, okay. Whoops. Let's go to the 21st then. And then you want to select the class attendance codes that you want to include. So I'm going to select absent in this case. For classes that meet more than one period on the same day, do you want to count the codes once per class or once per class period? So, for example, if you had a science class that met for 2 periods in the morning, do you want to count the absence for that one class, or do you want to count it twice, or I'm sorry, not twice, but for each of the periods that that class meets? So that is an option to you. And then if I hit transfer, oh, okay. All right, so I'm not going to transfer this time, but you do have the option to set all of the absent totals into a particular comment, which is nice if you want to have that listed on your report cards. All right, next I want to work on my report card messages and comments. So going under grades, more grade editing jobs, edit report card comments. So all of those comments that you saw when we were inputting the grades, this is where you would actually create those comments. So you have a up to 3-digit code you can enter. So if you used all of the numeric codes, you could have up to 999 comments if you wanted. And you would also input the description of those codes. So if you had a comment that a teacher wanted to make but it wasn't available, this is where you would come to enter in extra comments. So as you can see, we have plenty of room for more comments here. Going back into grades, more editing jobs, now we want to edit the report card messages. Right here, you can see I only have one available, and I actually have it as a legend. So if they saw a grade, they would know, okay, if it's a 95, I know that I have an A, or even vice versa. If I have an A, it's between 90 and 100. So it's a nice quick reference for the parents or students to take a look and see where they are at. You could also add in a new message pressing the yellow plus sign. So for example, if you had the senior class graduating, you might want to include a message specifically for the graduating class for that last quarter. So this is where you would come to input that message. Now we're on to actually setting up the report card, now that we have done all of those reports and computed everything we needed. So we're going to go to grades and print report cards. There we go. So this is where you can set up the layout of your report cards. If you do anything besides plain paper for your report card, you will need a dot matrix type of printer for anything other than plain paper. So when I first opened this, it was initializing the form by looking at all of the information that you have and all of the information that you just computed. So that's why it took a little bit longer to open. It's going to take the numbers that are stored in the student record for comments and convert them to text as well. Now what I'm going to do is recall the settings for a quarter 2 report card. So again, this is an area that if you wanted to reuse this information, you would want to save the settings. You're able to choose the grade point value group that you want to use for the report card, include transfer grades. You can include withdrawn courses if you choose. If you wanted to, you can print either the recorded grade or an alternate grade. Now the alternate grade would be if the teachers put in a numeric grade but you wanted a letter grade showed. So that would be what the alternate grade is. You can suppress report cards for students with no grades. So this would be for a transfer student, for example. They just came in and they really don't have any grades, so they don't really need a report card. You can also include a graphic. We do recommend that you put it in on the server if you do include a graphic so that anyone can print with the graphic from the server. So that way if one person prints the report card and has a graphic but they go on another computer, for example, and access the server, they're able to still use the same graphic. Down here we can, if a teacher decides to change from one marking period to another, then you want to select the week to use for that teacher data. So if I wanted to use just the quarter 2 data, I would actually have to go in and see when quarter 2 switched over. So I would select that week. Under header, it gives you a quick glance at what will be on the header of your report cards. So I have student name listed, the parent's name, or the contact's name, their address, and their city, state, zip. If I didn't want to include the parent name, I could select no down here. Same with the address lines, and it just shows you real quick what it looks like if I were to decide I didn't want that information. You can include the student ID number, and you can also include the date and the time for your report cards. The time could be important if you decide to reprint either all of the report cards or just one particular report card. It allows you to see what is the most recent copy as well as what is the most accurate. You're also able to add 3 lines of text, which can be associated with the other biographical fields. So for example, here I have advisor listed in the text, and I bring over the biographical advisor field. Below it, though, I only use the text field for the phone number, the dates and times that we are open, or the school would be open. And then we also have the expected year of graduation listed. Under grade fields, this is where you would specify what fields you want coming across on the report card. There are places for 12 different grades, and year-long can have quarters, mid-year, final, etc., depending on what you want to see on the report card. So right now I only want to see the quarter 1, quarter 2, and the mid-year exam, mid-year average. You can bring over comments as well. And it looks like right here we have the list for the absences for quarter 2, so I want to see those as well. So it would be quarter 2, ABS is the absences. Under class rank, or credit, class rank, and honor roll options, we can print the previous credits, the current year credits if you wanted, the career credits, the class rank, which is using career credits, and the honor roll field. So because I was recalling settings, these were pre-inputted, but you are able to change these options as well. Under attendance and messaging options, you can show which attendance totals you'd like to see. You can also calculate the total, which adds up the other options you have available. You can only print 4, however. So if I was in New Hampshire, I would have to put half days in instead of days. You can also in here select what message you would like to include. So from when I was creating the legend, or if you had that message to the seniors, this is where you would select to have it put in, and it will be located in the bottom right-hand corner of the report card. Under GPA, you have the GPAs that you can print either above the message or at the bottom of the report card. So here, the quarter 2 GPA is what I want printed at the bottom of the report card. Or I'm sorry, this will be actually near where the message is. And if I wanted extra GPAs printed, this is where I would indicate which ones I would want printed at the very bottom of the report card. In this case, I only want to include just the career GPA. Going back to layout, I'm actually going to select only a few students to show as an example. I'm going to hit print. And this is a quick look at the report card that would print from that. Now, I, for whatever reason, was not able to get the graphic in, but if it were available, it would be showing right in the middle here. So now I can see the quarter 1 and quarter 2 grades for each course. There isn't a mid-year exam grade since they haven't taken those yet, but we have a mid-year average grade for some of the students. We also have the comments on the side listing they're directly across from the grades, so these are the comments associated with those. Down here we have the absences listed. So we have a total absence of 2 in quarter 1 and 7 in quarter 2. And we have 2 tardies in quarter 1. So this is a quick look to see on the report card what was going on. We can also see down here we have their class rank as well as their quarter 2 GPA and their career credits. And we have their career GPA listed here above the message, which in this case is a legend. Going back to before I print, you have the option to print the report cards to PDF if you wanted. So if I click Output Options, you can either print the report. What I did was preview to screen, so I took a look at before I printed. You can also print the report cards to a PDF file. So this would be useful if you wanted to send out the report card or save all of the report cards, or if you wanted to send them out via email. But you can also save it as an Excel file, or if it's set up, you can actually send out emails for the report cards through here. So if we went to email options real quick, you can select to send the email to only students and contacts eligible for email. So their mail flags and email flags have to be set to yes within biographical. You can also select to have report cards printed or emailed for all selected students, email where applicable, but if there is no email applicable, then they would get a printed paper copy of the report card. You could also print a paper copy as well for the email recipients if you wanted, but I currently do not have this set up. But you do have those options available to you. And that's a quick look at preparing for report cards in MMS. If we wanted to, though, we are able to go into the staff, parent, and student portals to get a view of those report cards as well. All right, so in my student portal, I'm going to sign in. And for the student, they will want to go to report cards and transcripts. And with that drop-down, they're going to click on report card. Oops, and I actually just remembered you have to set this up in generations to be able to have them see within the portal system. So in order to set it up so the portal system will see the report cards, you want to go to School, School Management Jobs, Operations, Set Up Parent and Student Portal. For grade reporting, we want to click on the Grade Reporting tab. And then we also want to click on the drop down here for grade reporting. You just want to make sure that Activate Report Cards for website is clicked for the traditional report cards, as well as if you wanted to have skills report cards available and standard report cards available. So you want to make sure these are selected if you want them to be viewable on the portals. All right, let's go back into the student portal. So clicking on that report card right here shows the basic report cards. This is very similar to what we were seeing in MMS. So we have the student name, the header information, all of the courses, the quarter 1 and quarter 2 grades, as well as the mid-year average. We have over here the comments, and my screen is unfortunately not fitting to the size, but that's okay. Below we have the list of absences, their class rank, quarter 2 GPA, career credit, so everything just about that we saw within MMS. We can also view the skills-based report card as well. Oh. Oh, doesn't look like I have set it up for this one, but you would be able to see the skills-based report card or the standards report card through both the parent and teacher or parent and student portals as well. Yes, here we go. So I actually haven't created a skills report card. That's why it wasn't showing. But for standards, we have the ability to see this report card on top as well as the traditional report card. So it is slightly different in that we still have a heading with different information, but we also have the standards grade scale, and below each course we still have the teacher name, course, and the grades, but we also have these standards listed as well as the standards grades. So this is a major difference, or the major difference from MMS report cards and the traditional report cards. So reading independently, quarter one, Amy had a basic proficiency, but in quarter two, she went up to proficient. And so I'm going to get out of here. Now let's go into the staff portal. Now the parent and student portals, it is in the same area, so it would be the same process to get to both for report cards. Staff portal. Now under the staff portal, we are going to go to grades, standards report cards, and this is another way to set up the standard. This is how we set up the standards report cards that we just looked at. And I'm actually going to recall settings to the new report card that I have created earlier. Okay. And everything I need will be pre-filled out. So standards, grade point value, group 1, you're able to select the week for the teacher data, and we also have an optional message that will appear at the bottom of those report cards. Under header, this is where we would set up what we want for our header, so similar to how we did it in MMS. And this is where we have that initial message at the top of the report card, so the standards grade scale, very similar to the legend that we had in MMS. We can select to print the contact information and also the 3 extra biographical fields that we wanted to bring over here. Grade fields, similar to where you can choose the grades that we want to see, the absence codes as well as the comments. You can set up the attendance, credit, class rank, honor roll, and GPA. So very similar to MMS setting it up this way. Now I'm going to change my student range to just a few for the sake of having it process much quicker. We're going to hit print. Okay. And now we have a report card that the standards report card that we had a view of in the student portal. So we have all of the information that we had in the traditional report card, just with standards included as well. And the layout is much different from MMS generations.